Hey guys, welcome to Thursday's video. In this video, we're going to do three things. The first one is I'm going to show you how to generate your link for discussion 11, which will be helpful for Friday, and I will talk about the process of circulating surveys online. Then I'm going to show you a couple more sample surveys from previous students, and then we're going to look at the survey data and start talking about how to code the data, which Friday's video will be all about coding data, and then on Friday's video I'm going to show you my zombie survey and how I coded that data. So coding data is just essentially, in case you're not familiar with the term, it's after you get all of your primary research back, your survey data, like your responses, then you start to look for patterns, and I'll have actually a worksheet that will help guide you through how to code data, since it sounds easier than it actually is, and it is a little bit time consuming. So over the weekend, for Monday, I'm going to ask a little bit about what patterns you're finding in your research and the survey, because the survey will make up about 8 of your 10 pages or 7 of your 10 pages for your research paper. So this is worth taking the time to go through it piece by piece. All right, for the first thing, let's go ahead and go to SurveyMonkey. So this is the sample survey that I started with you guys in Wednesday's video. English 102 survey, you have your demographic information. And one other thing that might be really good to add is the major, because I had a student last semester, he was looking at specifically STEM majors versus non-STEM majors in terms of like survival preparedness for an apocalyptic event. So obviously he needed to know the majors of the survey participants. So again, when you do take these surveys before Friday at midnight, you would just type in 20, male, female, whatever your gender identity is, class, sophomore, whatever, and then your major. All right, name 2 to 3 things you think of when you hear X, and that term is going to be just any kind of definition you need the participant to set up first. So it's not only good because if you're asking about like post-apocalyptic movies, then you need to make sure that you have the same definition as your participant, and a good way to find out what their definition is just to ask them to think of 2 to 3 things when you hear that term. Or if it's like a lot of you are doing medical stuff, or like medical errors or exercise, so stuff like that, you need to just make sure your terms align with your participants' terms. And if they don't, that's good information to point out as well, like there's a lack of awareness about certain topic. Then this we use to demonstrate the other category, but also a multiple choice answer system, I guess. And this is also, you can use this as a Likert scale if you don't want to use the matrix technique that I started in the last video. So all you would do here is like, how likely are you to, I don't know, use Verizon or something like that. No one's writing about Verizon. I don't know why I've thought of it. But so then you'd put, it would just be like 4 of them, and then the other would be unnecessary, so you don't need to mark that. It would be not likely at all, somewhat likely, likely, or very likely, or extremely likely, whatever you want to put here. All right, so let's say I have my 10 questions, and again, I would recommend 8 to 10, but err on the side of 10 because you can have too few questions, but I've never heard anyone say I have, like too much data, and there are too many things I could write about. That's hardly ever the case. So try to get to 10 questions, again, because the survey is going to make up the bulk of your qualitative research paper. So you go to next once you have your survey complete. And then this is your generated link that I've been referencing but not really clear about. So anonymous responses, you want to make sure this is on to make your survey as realistic as possible. And after all that, I don't mess with these things. I just copy this, and then you go to discussion board 11. And in discussion board 11, before 6 p.m. on Thursday, today, you want to make sure you create a thread and you post your link. You can put your name here, like Ashley survey, and just post it here. Do not attach it as a Word document. That's going to be too complicated for your peers to download each Word document and open them up, and then just copy the link. And another thing I would recommend for this, whenever all the discussion posts are lined out nicely, I would just say copy each one and open into a new tab, because I'm not entirely sure how the discussion works on your end, but for me, it kind of, I have to go back almost every time to get to a new post or a new thread. So that could be really annoying. Once you're in the thread, just open each link, as many as you can see at a time, to make sure not only that you're doing it correctly, but also that you are providing responses for every peer, each one of your peers, and not gypping anyone. All right, so we got that done. We got this discussion 11 done. And as you can see in my description of discussion 11, how this will work is, again, 6 p.m., post your link today, and then before midnight on Friday, go ahead and try to take your peers' surveys. There are 13 of them. They should take 5 to 7 minutes each, and I know it's quite a bit of work. I believe that's all you're doing. Yeah, that's all you're doing on Friday. So you post the link, you are doing that, and then over the weekend, I want you to start coding the data. I'm going to talk a little bit about that in terms of the solitary confinement data I collected, and then Friday's video is going to be the zombie data, as I mentioned. So we did all that. I'm going to show you a couple other samples of surveys, and then we're going to jump into coding the data. So let's look at, a lot of you are doing some stuff about the apocalypse. So this is the student last semester. He started asking about apocalypse preparedness. This is, I asked him to write basically the question that I'm telling you guys to write after the demographic information. What do you think of when you hear the term X? So he didn't really specify what an apocalypse would count as. So I just asked him, write another question above or below this question specifying what counts as an apocalypse. So asking the participants for their definition of an apocalypse. As you can see here, he had another category. They did everything physically, like they printed out copies and such. That's obviously we're not able to do that. So SurveyMonkey, I feel like, will actually be easier for you guys because they had to do literally everything manually. And you guys get to plug it into an analytics system after you're done, and have the computer do some of the work for you. So a Likert scale is just those 1 through 4s. How likely are you to do whatever? And stuff like this is just vague wording. Would the loss of internet be a major problem to you? We need something more quantifiable, So we need to be able to account for it more. And the rest of the questions, I think I either typed or I helped the student formulate them to make sure he had enough material to generate a full paper. One student last semester, he had like 3 questions in a survey, and he struggled a lot because I said have 8 to 10. So again, make sure, even if they're not like the best questions that you could ask, I would love for you to be prepared and to just run them by me first. In discussion 10, I've already provided feedback for you guys, but if you still have questions about them, I'd rather you take the time beforehand and get the survey right before you generate that link and send it out. All right, another example of a survey would be Molly's survey. She did a really great one on school violence. So she did a Likert scale here, and she kind of defined her own terms. Again, she did the 3. I didn't really tell her not to. She definitely would have taken it out, but not concerned. Don't even think about it. So this one, again, it's just in the tone of neutrality. You should just get rid of it. So this one, she's talking about school shootings, Columbine shootings, and perceptions and media portrayal of these things, these terrible events. This, again, is like the question we talked about. And specify a little bit more here, give a scale. where if you're asking for the likelihood, that's where the Likert scale comes into play. She had a range here and another range here. Okay. So these are all good things to keep in mind. The last one, this guy's asking about aliens and what the public perception on aliens was. Please, if you do believe in aliens, yes or no. So he even had to kind of define the word aliens because we had a lot of confusion and different responses to that. Assuming aliens exist, how advanced do you believe they are, etc. Again, I'm just wanting you to get as specific as possible so that your job later is easier. What does advanced mean in terms of aliens? Think like a philosopher, essentially, for these survey questions, and I guess play devil's advocate with them as well. Like if anything's ambiguous, how can you make it unambiguous? All right. So that's all good. I have a ton of examples, as you can see here. I've taught surveys for 2 full semesters here alone, and then when I was at the University of Tennessee, I also did survey research, and I worked at a survey company for 4 years. So I love doing surveys. I have a lot of ideas for them, so please let me know if you have any questions. All right, we're going to shift from writing surveys and generating stuff on SurveyMonkey into coding data in these last couple of minutes in this video. Friday's video, as I mentioned, will be all about coding data. So if you feel like you're not getting it, that's totally fine. It takes a little while, and I just want to make sure you have a little bit of an introduction to it in this video. So let me show you on SurveyMonkey this solitary confinement survey. So again, this was a class over prison literature prison nonfiction writings last semester, one of my grad level classes, and we actually visited Hazleton Correctional Facility, and I wanted to know about perceptions of solitary confinement, etc. That's kind of like where my research interest came from. So I circulated this survey of 9 questions, to my Facebook friends and to an English department listserv, and I got 46 responses, which is pretty good since people don't typically like taking surveys, especially about something as heavy as solitary confinement, right? So what do you think of when you hear the term solitary confinement or its equivalents? And I gave some examples here. So what they did, or what I had them do, is I just had a text box or a comment box, whatever it's called, on SurveyMonkey, which we just looked at in video, the video for Wednesday. So they wrote in some examples or some words that they associate with them, and I asked them specifically for 3. So what I did here with this question is I started typing up I just typed them all out, and because I had 46 responses, I had a lot more, and I asked for 3 each, and a lot of people did 4 or 5 because they're fellow academics, and they're being very generous. So what I would recommend, you won't have this much data, and just start writing down the terms here, and start grouping them together. I'll show you another example of how to start grouping these in the zombie data, which is a little bit more relevant to your all's research. But what I did to make this easier is, for example, I had like claustrophobia. I would just do like 1, 2, 3, because I couldn't keep track, obviously, every single time when I'm scrolling down through these when claustrophobia came. So like I would see it, and I had a split screen. I would see it, and then I would come over here and I would add another one. Okay, so it would be like 4. When I got to 5, I would erase all these, and then I would put a 5 here. And so at this one, I would get to 2 5s, and it'll obviously be a 10, and then I had 3 tallies here, and then I had 13 total. So I did that for all of these, and the ones that are just like this means that's 1 each. So I know, you're already like, I'm exhausted. Then I looked at the highest ones. So we have a 14, we have a 13, 12, 10. We go down here, there's a 5 for insanity, and already I'm starting to notice things that are interesting to me, or things that I didn't expect, and those are things that you'll talk about in your discussion section. But for right now, the chart that I created, the pie chart, was this. So I put a lot of them on here because this is for my final paper, but I put them in order. As you can see, 13 starts it, and they're color coded. So lonely is matched with 13, and they go around, okay? And then I put some other examples down here. of this. This you won't put, but this you would. And you don't need to make it a black background. That was just stylistic. So let me know what questions you guys have, and go ahead and get started on your surveys.